As I mentioned, I'm half Saudi, half German, and I studied, my BA is in psychology from Dominguez Hills, and I have a master's in intercultural conflict management from Berlin, Germany, and right now I'm working on my license to become, a licensed coach. So I decided today to show you a few pictures of Saudi Arabia that usually don't make it into the media. And afterwards, we can have a Q&A session. Is that okay with everyone? Yes?
Yeah, sure.
I'll just turn off the lights. This is a typical picture of Saudi Arabia. When we think of Saudi Arabia, we think of oppressed women, looking like ghosts, segregations, and all the other things that Annie said. But reality is a bit different. We do have cases like these, and we have women like these, but we also have girls like these. Yes, this is in Saudi Arabia. And the blonde girl is my sister. In case you were wondering, she's a model, or she's a retired model now. And this event was taken at a Harley-Davidson exhibition. Harley-Davidson is very, very, very loved in Saudi Arabia. So again, you have different perspectives about Saudi Arabia. You have the totally covered women, and then you have girls who walk around without veils. So this brings us to the blind man and the elephant. And actually, one of my sisters, she came up with this example when we were talking about Saudi Arabia. Two of my sisters and I, we had a Saudi Arabia that looked like the first one because we went to public schools, and so we were exposed to women like these. But my sister wasn't. She went to private schools, and that was her life. That was her bubble. She went out to parties, mixed parties, their friends dated, and that was their reality. So this reminded us of the elephant, where each of the blind men, when they touched part of the elephant, they had a different perspective of what that was. But when they all got together, they couldn't decide what the object was. And that's how it is in Saudi Arabia as well. And this is in the middle, the three men. And in the middle, that's our current king. And he's extremely loved by women because he's called for to help women. As much as they say that he's very conservative, but he's very fair with women, and he calls for women's education and women's employment, and that's why women love him. And this picture also represents Saudi Arabia. You have a lot of women who show their faces, and others have their faces covered. And this also goes to the second picture. So there have been many, many sorts of pictures like that. The king is not shy of taking pictures with women. And these are a few of the professions that we don't hear of in the world media. Below you have a picture of a firefighter. And actually, she's the daughter of a firefighter, and he started a company. And since she's his oldest daughter, he wanted her to take care of the company later on. And she's trained in how to prevent firefighting, and that's what she did for a long time. Actually, she's only 22. And they would go to schools and promote fire safety and train women on what to do in case of a fire. On the right, there's a photographer. And so top right, she's a very famous anchor woman, and a very interesting person too. Not only is she a woman and an anchor woman who appears on TV, but she's a Shia. So in Islam we have like the Sunni sect and the Shia sect, and so she's a minority. And unfortunately, because she's a minority, she's not always treated fairly. And she's an extraordinary woman. She actually got into a heated debate with a sheikh. He's like what we would call a religious scholar. She got into a fight with him on air, and she put him down in an amazing way by using religion as her defense whenever he would say something, she would get back to him with a verse from the Quran or something from sayings of the Prophet. And he was so embarrassed at the end that he said, I'm not discussing anything with a woman, and he just left. So, yeah. If you're in Jeddah, you have to scuba dive almost. This is a sport that almost everyone does. And just a side note, I grew up in Riyadh, which is the capital city, and in the middle of nothing almost. Because, well, nowadays it's a big city, but it's in the middle of Saudi Arabia and in the middle of the desert, so to speak. But my family originally comes from the western province, from Mecca. And Jeddah is a city on the Red Sea coast. And, the Red Sea coast. And over there, scuba diving is very popular. And it's practiced by both men and women. This is a picture of me with Nemo and my best friend. We actually were both advanced scuba divers, and we have a license, and we got that in Saudi Arabia. So, and she met her husband, her current husband, while scuba diving. Same thing goes to the picture on the right. She's a scuba diver who wears the veil, and also met her husband while scuba diving. The picture, so if we go clockwise, this is a picture of me and my friend in a wig. I love that picture because it seemed like we decided to do something crazy because we were bored. So we decided to scuba dive in wigs. And while we were Googling, we found out that nobody did it. At least it wasn't documented on the internet, so we decided, okay, we might as well do it. Yeah. Then we have also the gentleman, so on the lower left, actually his sister was one of the women who also drove. We were diving and then we found a Coca-Cola can, so he decided to pick it up to put it back to where it belongs. Well, one day while I was walking, we came across this family, and they were in the sea, and they were swimming, and they looked so happy, and so I just thought it was a nice picture to take. And she's wearing the abaya, so it's the black cloak, and so she has her hair covered, but that didn't stop her from having fun. And to me, when I looked at it, I thought, that's nice. She's not going to let something prevent her from having fun. If she wanted to swim, fine, she'll swim. Now to the social aspect of Saudi Arabia. Life is too short to drink small margaritas. And it's a virgin margarita. This was in Saudi Arabia. But we don't call it virgin. We just call it either non-alcoholic or, just margaritas. Because all margaritas are non-alcoholic. And drinks are fascinating in Saudi Arabia, the cocktail drinks. They have the weirdest names, and some of them are very sexually explicit. And I wonder how many people actually know what they actually mean. One day, my friend and I, we went into a restaurant, and we were looking at the menu, and we were just laughing because the names were so ridiculous. Doing something in the back seat, passionate nights. And when we were ordering the drinks, we were actually giggling because we thought we were embarrassed a bit. Like, this is Saudi Arabia, we're not supposed to say these things. And the waiter was just looking at us like, and yes, this is also in Jeddah. So this is a totally different picture of the first one. My friends and I, we decided to take a boat trip on the Red Sea. And that one, the blonde one is also Saudi, by the way. And one of the reasons why I chose this picture, because it represents diversity. You have one woman who covered her hair, the other one doesn't. And both of them are very good friends, and neither one of them is trying to push her values on the other one. So this is sometimes how we go out. We don't cover our hair necessarily. But that's mostly in one area in Saudi Arabia where we can get away with it. Hookah is also very popular in Jeddah. And that's abaya also on the left side, the pink-purple cloak. So that's a different, it's very different from the black abaya again. And that's in a public place. ignored the poses that was going on, but I just wanted to show you some of the abayas that we have in Saudi Arabia. So this is how my sister and I went out. And some of the women who choose to stay in black abayas, they just end up having, like, wear colorful veils. That happens too. In the last few years, and thanks to the social media, social networks and so on, we've had many campaigns. One of them was My Guardian Knows Best, which was started by a woman. And basically she's arguing that things have to stay that way, and men are supposed to take care of women, and women don't need to drive and shouldn't be driving. And if a woman wants to work, she needs to get a man's permission, and she can't leave the country without a man, and she believes that this is how things should be. And the person who started it actually is the one on the right, the one wearing white. So again, our perspective might be that somebody who would call for such a campaign would be a backwards woman who covers, whereas in reality, the one who started it is nothing but. And this picture was taken from YouTube, obviously, and the woman had a debate on a Saudi TV channel, and they were discussing driving and the campaign. So the white woman accused the one who has her face covered that she's being a hypocrite, because usually when she walks on the street, she uncovers her face, but now that she's on TV, her face is covered. In which she replied that she comes from a tribe and she has to respect her tribe. And that's an interesting thing that people need to think about when they think about Saudi Arabia, that Saudi Arabia consists, or partially consists, of tribes who totally believe in their tribal system. And to many of these people who belong to tribes, these values and laws are more important than the country laws. And so to her, she would never think of appearing online, even if she doesn't believe in covering her face. But when it comes to the media, she will cover her face because that's what her tribe wants. And she believes that it's good for her to follow the tribe. And finally, this is my Medal of Honor. It's a statement that I had to sign that I will not drive a car ever again in Saudi Arabia. I had to sign it when the police pulled me over. And one of the many campaigns that we had lately, we had one last year, where it was urging women to peacefully just drive. And so it was on a Friday, and I remember that I woke up and wondering, should I or should I not drive? And I had made an agreement with my dad that I wouldn't drive because he wasn't in the country and we wouldn't know what would happen. So I woke up and I was feeling a bit like, okay, I'm not driving. But then when I went on Twitter, many women were sharing their stories. I just drove and the police caught me or pulled me over, but nothing happened. They just let me go. And the more women talked about it, more and more women started going out. And then I had Saudi men, sending me messages asking me, are you going to drive or not? And when I would tell them, I had an agreement with my dad not to drive, they said, stop making excuses and go. You talk too much, walk the walk. And I just ignored them. So in the afternoon, I was driving with my brother, or he was driving, I was next to him. He said, come on, drive, come on. You want to do it, come on. So finally, okay, fine. And he said, if anything happens to you, I'm with you, so I can bail you out of jail. Okay, sure, why not? So I ended up going behind the wheel, and I started driving, and I was shaking like crazy. And then I decided, okay, if I'm going to continue shaking, I'll be a reckless driver. So I finally calmed down, and then there was a car next to us with two men, and as soon as they saw me, they started cheering and just thrilled to see me, and they asked if they can take a picture of me, and I thought, wow, okay. So I continued driving, and then I got to a signal, I thought, oh God, now the trouble is going to start. Now somebody's going to come out of the car and beat me up. But surprisingly, when people noticed what happened, that I was driving, they all basically continued cheering me, and as soon as the signal turned green, they all made way for me to pass. So I continued driving, and everything was well, until this guy in a GMC saw me, and it seemed like he saw the devil. He was very upset, very upset. And so he was driving a big car with young children in the car. And as soon as he saw me, he became a very reckless driver. It made me wonder, how come nobody's stopping him? I mean, he's endangering everyone else. So, and obviously he called the police because he had a cell phone and he was calling, and he was following us up until we crossed a police car, and he started honking and honking and honking until they noticed what was going on, and that's when they followed us. And when he noticed, as soon as he saw that actually he stood there for a while, even after the police came and talked to us, until the police told him to leave. So I don't know what authority he had to think that it's up to him to enforce morals. I don't know. And so when we were pulled over, that's when my brother said, okay, it's time for us to exchange seats now. Let me handle everything. And it's a man's country, so go ahead. So I was sitting in the passenger seat for an hour or so while my brother was outside talking. And basically he'd come back and forth and ask for my driver's license, my California driver's license. And then when he came back, he said, yeah, the officer that pulled us over is completely in shock that a woman can drive. It did not occur, it's almost impossible, it's impossible for him to comprehend that women have the ability to drive. And when my brother told him, yeah, she has a driver's license, he said, no, I don't believe it. That's why when my brother showed him my driver's license, he just took it in his hand and he started laughing. Like, that's impossible. So, and they were all very friendly, the police officers, and they didn't know what to do. So they had to call the station, and then the station, like an upper officer or someone with a higher
ranking.
Yeah, ranking came with papers, with lots and lots of papers, which is actually this paper. And they were discussing with my brother, just discussing driving with him. And my brother came from an Islamic perspective and said, what is wrong with driving? Where does it say that women are not allowed to drive? And to them, it just doesn't happen. Yeah, but the early Muslims and the ones of the Prophet, they rode camels, so what's the difference? And the officer said, yeah, but that was 1,400 years ago. And we're in modern times now. Do you see us herding cattle? So my brother told them, yeah, when I was in the southern region of Saudi Arabia, I saw this woman herding the cattle, and she did an excellent job. And the officer was speechless again. He didn't know what to say. And to me, the fact that I was perhaps able to influence one person, that women are able to drive and are capable, I think that was a message well delivered. So I consider this my Medal of Honor. And so this is it. If you have any questions about Saudi Arabia, I'm more than welcome to answer them.